Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, faced racism at a luxury car dealership simply for his humility. But what he did next shocked the world. He bought the dealership. From being judged to becoming the owner, this epic comeback will leave you speechless. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The gleaming showroom of Elite Motors stood as a testament to luxury and exclusivity in downtown Chicago. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the latest models of high-end vehicles, their polished surfaces reflecting the cold winter afternoon light. Inside, sales representatives in perfectly tailored suits moved with practiced grace among potential buyers, their attention carefully focused on those whose appearances screamed wealth and status. On this particular Tuesday, as snowflakes began to dust the sidewalks outside, a tall man in a weathered jacket pushed through the heavy glass doors. His jeans were faded, his shoes showed signs of wear, and his quiet demeanor seemed at odds with the ostentatious environment. The man was Michael Jordan, though none of the employees recognized him in his modest attire. He moved slowly through the showroom, his experienced eyes taking in every detail of the vehicles on display. His current car, while reliable, had served its purpose, and he was ready for something new. Not to show off, that had never been his style outside the basketball court, but simply because he appreciated quality engineering. A sleek black sedan caught his attention. The lines were elegant, the specifications impressive. Michael circled it slowly, noting the craftsmanship evident in every detail. Around him, sales representatives bustled past, their gazes sliding over him as if he were invisible. They were too busy attending to other customers. A woman in a designer suit examining a luxury SUV. A young executive type running his manicured hands over a sports car's hood. "Excuse me," Michael called out politely to a passing salesman, who continued walking as if he hadn't heard. 20 minutes passed this way, with Michael attempting to catch someone's attention while being systematically ignored. Finally, he approached the central desk, where 3 salesmen stood chatting and laughing among themselves. "Pardon me," he said, his voice carrying the same quiet authority it had held throughout his career. "I'm interested in the black sedan. Could someone assist me?" The youngest of the 3 salesmen looked up, his expression shifting from annoyance to barely concealed disdain. "We're quite busy at the moment," he said, his tone dismissive. "Maybe you should try coming back another time." Under his breath, but loud enough to be heard, he added, "Not like you could afford it anyway." The other 2 salesmen snickered, one of them muttering, "Just another window shopper. You know how they are." Throughout his career, Michael had faced countless challenges and obstacles. He'd learned to channel frustration into motivation, to transform setbacks into comebacks. But this moment struck a different chord. It wasn't about competition or achievement. It was about basic human dignity. As he turned to leave, a young woman behind the reception desk caught his eye. Unlike her colleagues, she offered a small, apologetic smile. It was a tiny gesture of kindness in an afternoon filled with casual cruelty. Michael nodded slightly in acknowledgement before stepping out into the steadily falling snow. That evening, in his home office overlooking the city lights, Michael sat at his desk, lost in thought. The incident at the dealership played over in his mind. He'd experienced discrimination before, but something about this encounter felt different. Perhaps it was the casual nature of it, the way such behavior had become normalized in what should have been a simple business transaction. His fingers drummed thoughtfully on the polished wooden surface as he reached for his phone. A few calls to his business manager and legal team set things in motion. By midnight, documents were being prepared and a plan was taking shape. Michael Jordan had never been one to accept defeat, whether on the basketball court or in life. Tomorrow would bring changes to Elite Motors, changes that no one there would see coming. The next morning dawned clear and cold, the previous day's snow creating a pristine blanket across the city. Michael Jordan entered Elite Motors wearing the same worn jacket and faded jeans, but this time he carried a leather portfolio under his arm. The showroom was already bustling with activity, sales representatives moving with practiced efficiency among the morning's first customers. The same young salesman from yesterday spotted him first, rolling his eyes and nudging his colleagues. "Look who's back," he whispered loudly enough to be heard. "Probably couldn't find any other dealership to waste time in." Michael approached the reception desk, where the manager, Bradley Thompson, was reviewing the day's appointments. Thompson looked up, his expression shifting from professional interest to barely concealed annoyance as he took in Michael's appearance. "Can I help you?" Thompson asked, his tone suggesting he'd rather do anything else. Michael placed the portfolio on the desk. "Yes, you can. I think you'll want to review these documents." His voice was calm, carrying the same quiet authority that had commanded respect throughout his basketball career. Thompson opened the portfolio with visible reluctance, but as he began reading, the color drained from his face. His hands trembled slightly as he flipped through the pages, looking increasingly distressed with each passing moment. This can't be real," he stammered, looking up at Michael with new eyes. Recognition finally dawned on his face as he truly saw the man standing before him for the first time. "Ayrton, you're Michael Jordan?" "I am," Michael confirmed simply. "And those documents are very real. As of this morning, I own Elite Motors." The buzz of conversation in the showroom died as others began to notice the unfolding scene. The young salesman who had been so dismissive approached cautiously, his earlier smugness replaced by growing anxiety. "Mr. Thompson?" he asked uncertainly. "Is everything okay?" Michael turned to face him. "No, everything is not okay. Yesterday I came here as a customer and experienced firsthand the culture of discrimination and disrespect that exists in this establishment. Today I'm here as the owner to make some necessary changes." He addressed the gathering crowd of employees. "This dealership will no longer be a place where people are judged by their appearance or the color of their skin. From today forward, every customer who walks through those doors will be treated with respect and dignity." Thompson attempted to interject. "Mr. Jordan, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," Michael cut him off firmly. "Your leadership has fostered an environment of prejudice and elitism. That ends now. You're dismissed from your position, effective immediately." Turning to the young salesman who had mocked him, Michael continued, "The same goes for you. Your behavior yesterday demonstrated exactly what's wrong with this place. Clear out your desk." The showroom had fallen completely. Silent. Every eye was on Michael as he walked through the space, his presence commanding attention in a way that had nothing to do with his celebrity status and everything to do with his quiet authority. He stopped in front of the young woman from reception, the one who had offered that small smile of kindness the day before. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah Martinez," she replied, her voice steady despite her surprise at being addressed directly. "Sarah, I noticed yesterday that you were the only person here who showed basic human decency to a stranger. That's the kind of character I want leading this place. How would you feel about taking over as sales manager?" Her eyes widened in shock. "Me? But I'm just—" "You're exactly what this place needs," Michael interrupted gently. "Someone who understands. That true success isn't measured by the price of what you sell, but by how you treat people." As the implications of these changes rippled through the showroom, Michael moved to the center of the space. He spoke clearly, his words carrying to every corner of the room. "I've spent my life proving people wrong, breaking down barriers, and showing that success comes from character, not appearance. This dealership will now reflect those values. Anyone who can't adapt to treating all people with equal respect should follow Mr. Thompson's example and leave now. Those who stay will be part of building something better." The transformation of Elite Motors began immediately. In the days following Michael Jordan's takeover, the dealership underwent a complete metamorphosis. Sarah Martinez, the newly appointed sales manager, proved to be exactly the breath of fresh air the establishment needed. Her first order of business was to reorganize the sales team, emphasizing character over traditional sales metrics. "We're not just selling cars anymore," she explained during the first staff meeting under her leadership. "We're creating an experience based on respect, dignity, and genuine service." Her words carried the weight of someone who understood the importance of the change they were implementing. Michael made frequent visits to the dealership, often still wearing his casual attire. He took a hands-on approach to the transformation, but not in the way many might have expected. Instead of focusing solely on sales figures and profit margins, he emphasized the human element of their business. One morning, he gathered the remaining staff and new hires for what would become a defining moment in Elite Motors' new chapter. "I want to share something with you," he began, his voice carrying the same quiet intensity that had marked his legendary career. "Success isn't just about winning or making sales. It's about making a difference in people's lives." He implemented a series of revolutionary changes. The commission structure was revamped to prioritize customer satisfaction over sales volume. Traditional high-pressure sales tactics were replaced with a consultative approach focused on understanding and meeting customer needs. Most importantly, he instituted a zero-tolerance policy for any form of discrimination. The physical space of the dealership also underwent a transformation. The stark, imposing atmosphere was softened with comfortable seating areas where customers could relax and discuss their options without feeling pressured. The break room was renovated to create a more welcoming space for staff, promoting a sense of community among employees. Sarah's leadership style perfectly complemented these changes. She introduced morning meetings that began not with sales targets, but with discussions about customer experiences and ways to improve service. She encouraged her team to share their own stories of overcoming prejudice and discrimination, creating an environment of understanding and empathy. One particularly meaningful change came in the form of a mentorship program. Michael and Sarah worked together to create opportunities for young people from underprivileged backgrounds to learn about the automotive industry. The program provided training in sales, customer service, and business management, opening doors that had previously been firmly closed. "This isn't just about selling cars," Michael explained to a group of mentorship participants. "It's about creating opportunities and showing that success is possible regardless of where you come from or what you look like." The impact of these changes began to ripple through the Chicago automotive community. Other dealerships watched with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity as Elite Motors implemented its new policies. Some predicted failure, arguing that the luxury market demanded a certain level of exclusivity. But Michael Jordan had spent his entire career proving doubters wrong, and he wasn't about to stop now. One afternoon, as Sarah was reviewing applications for the mentorship program, she received an unexpected visit from Robert Chen, one of the dealership's longtime customers. In the past, Robert had been known for his demanding nature and tendency to treat staff with condescension, but today, something was different. "I've been watching the changes here," he said, settling into one of the new comfortable chairs in Sarah's office. "At first I was skeptical. I thought the exclusivity was part of the appeal, but I was wrong. The atmosphere now, the way everyone is treated with genuine respect, it's remarkable." Sarah smiled, remembering how different things had been just a few weeks ago. "That's exactly what Mr. Jordan envisioned, a place where everyone feels valued." Robert nodded thoughtfully. "You know, I've been in business for 30 years. I've seen all kinds of management styles and business philosophies, but what's happening here? This is something special. You're not just selling luxury cars, you're setting a new standard for how business should be conducted." The conversation was interrupted by the sound of laughter from the showroom. Through the office window, Sarah could see one of their new sales representatives, a young woman who had come through the mentorship program, expertly guiding a family through their options. The family, dressed casually and looking slightly nervous about being in a luxury dealership, was visibly relaxing as the representative treated them with genuine warmth and respect. "That's what it's all about," Sarah said, more to herself than to Robert. "Creating a space where everyone feels welcome, where dignity isn't determined by the clothes you wear or the car you drive." As the day drew to a close, Michael made one of his routine visits. He spent time talking with each employee, learning about their experiences and listening to their ideas for further improvements. In these moments, the legendary athlete disappeared, replaced by someone who genuinely cared about creating positive change in the world. Word of the changes at Elite Motors spread rapidly through Chicago's business community. What had started as a single act of standing up against discrimination had evolved into a movement that was challenging long-held assumptions about luxury retail and customer service. Local news outlets began picking up the story, fascinated by the transformation taking place under Michael Jordan's ownership. But it wasn't just the celebrity angle that drew their attention. It was the fundamental shift in how a high-end business could operate while maintaining both profitability and principles. Sarah Martinez found herself becoming an unexpected spokesperson for this new approach to business. She was invited to speak at industry conferences and local business gatherings, sharing the story of Elite Motors' transformation and the principles behind their success. The amazing thing, she told a packed audience at a regional automotive dealers convention, is that treating people with respect and dignity isn't just the right thing to do, it's good business. Our sales have increased by 40% since implementing these changes, and our customer satisfaction ratings are at an all-time high. The dealership's mentorship program became particularly notable for its success. Young people who might never have considered a career in luxury auto sales were discovering their potential. One such success story was Marcus Thompson, a young man from Chicago's South Side who had joined the program in its first month. Before this opportunity, I never would have imagined myself working in a place like this, Marcus shared during a staff meeting, but Mr. Jordan and Ms. Martinez showed me that it's not about where you come from. It's about your character and how you treat others. The impact extended beyond the walls of Elite Motors. Other dealerships in the area began to take notice of their success and implement similar changes. Some reached out to Sarah and Michael for guidance on creating their own inclusive training programs and revamping their customer service approaches. One particularly meaningful moment came when James Richardson, the young salesman who had been dismissed for his discriminatory behavior on that fateful day, requested a meeting with Michael and Sarah. He arrived at the dealership one afternoon, noticeably different from the arrogant young man who had worked there before. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he began, his voice humble. "What happened here, what you've built, it opened my eyes. I was wrong, and I've spent the last few months working to change my perspective and behavior. I'm not asking for my job back, but I wanted you to know that you made a difference in my life." Michael listened carefully to James's words. "Growth comes from acknowledging our mistakes and learning from them," he responded. "The question is, what will you do with that knowledge?" James straightened in his chair. "I've been volunteering at a youth center, teaching kids about business ethics and respect. I want to be part of the solution now, not the problem." The conversation that followed was transformative for everyone involved. James's journey from discrimination to understanding became another powerful testimony to the changes happening at Elite Motors and beyond. The dealership's influence continued to grow. They began hosting monthly community events, bringing together people from all walks of life to learn about financial literacy, business ethics, and professional development. The showroom, once an intimidating space reserved for the wealthy, became a center for community education and empowerment. One evening, as Michael was preparing to leave after a particularly successful community workshop, he noticed a familiar face entering the dealership. It was the woman who had been examining the luxury SUV on the day of his first visit. The one who had received preferential treatment while he was ignored. She approached him with a warm smile. "Mr. Jordan, I've been wanting to speak with you. I was here that day and I saw how you were treated. I'm ashamed to say I did nothing. But what you've created here, it's inspirational. You've shown that luxury and inclusivity aren't mutually exclusive." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest moments. What happened that day wasn't just about me, it was about every person who's ever been judged by their appearance rather than their character." The sun set over Chicago, casting long shadows through the showroom windows. Michael took a moment to observe the vibrant community that had formed within these walls. The space was filled with people from all backgrounds, engaged in animated conversations about cars, business, and life. The atmosphere was warm, welcoming, and alive with possibility. 1 year after Michael Jordan's transformative purchase of Elite Motors, the dealership had become more than just a place to buy luxury cars. It had evolved into a symbol of positive change in Chicago's business community. The showroom floor, once a stage for discrimination, now served as a model for inclusive excellence. On the anniversary of his first visit, Michael organized a special event at the dealership. The guest list included community leaders, business owners, and most importantly, the people who had been part of this remarkable journey. Sarah Martinez, now recognized as one of the city's most innovative business leaders, stood beside him as they welcomed their guests. "When I walked through these doors a year ago," Michael began, addressing the gathered crowd, "I wasn't looking to make a statement or start a movement. I simply wanted to buy a car. But sometimes life presents us with opportunities to create change that goes beyond our original intentions." The showroom had been transformed for the evening. Photo displays chronicled the dealership's journey, showing the stark contrast between the old Elite Motors and the vibrant, inclusive business it had become. One particularly powerful image showed the first graduating class of the mentorship program, their faces beaming with pride and possibility. Marcus Thompson, who had risen from mentee to senior sales consultant, took the podium to share his story. "This place gave me more than a job," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "It gave me a chance to prove that success isn't about where you come from or what you look like. It's about who you are and how you treat others." The event also featured unexpected guests, former employees who had initially resisted the changes. Among them was Bradley Thompson, the former manager who had been dismissed that pivotal day. He approached Michael during the evening, humbled by what he witnessed. "I never imagined this kind of success was possible," Bradley admitted. "You proved that treating people with dignity isn't just morally right, it's smart business. I've learned more from watching your transformation of Elite Motors than I did in 20 years of management." Sarah shared the latest statistics. Customer satisfaction was at 98%, sales had doubled, and their mentorship program had a 90% success rate in placing graduates in automotive industry positions. But beyond the numbers, she emphasized the human impact. "We've had customers drive from neighboring states just to experience our approach to service," she explained. "They tell us it's not just about buying a car, it's about being part of something meaningful." The evening's most powerful moment came when Michael revealed Elite Motors' newest initiative, the Jordan Equality in Business Grant. The program would provide funding and mentorship to entrepreneurs committed to creating inclusive business environments across various industries. "This isn't just about selling cars anymore," Michael announced. "It's about creating a blueprint for how businesses can thrive while promoting equality and respect. Every person who walks through a door deserves to be treated with dignity, whether they're wearing designer suits or worn jeans." As the event drew to a close, a young family entered the showroom. They looked uncertain, much like Michael had a year ago. Sarah immediately noticed them and personally welcomed them inside. The father, wearing work clothes and paint-stained boots, explained they were just looking. "Then let's look together," Sarah smiled warmly. "Every journey starts with that first step." Michael watched the interaction with satisfaction. This was exactly what he had envisioned, a place where everyone felt welcome, where dreams weren't judged by appearances, and where respect was the foundation of every interaction. The transformation of Elite Motors had become more than a story about one dealership's change. It had become a testament to the power of standing up against discrimination and believing in the possibility of better. What started as a simple car purchase had sparked a movement that continued to grow, touching lives and changing perspectives far beyond the showroom floor. As the evening came to an end, Michael stood at the center of the showroom, surrounded by the community that had formed around this vision of inclusive excellence. The space that had once made him feel unwelcome now stood as a beacon of hope and change, proving that sometimes the greatest victories happen far from the basketball court.